Hi everybody. The little red thing in Facebook tells me that we're live, so I'm going to believe it and assume that we're live. Hi, my name is Jason Norman. I am the program and events coordinator at the Writers Guild of Alberta. And we're doing some more virtual readings with our Alberta Literary Awards finalists. And today is the R. Ross Annette Award for chapter books. So we have the guests today are Ferrell Holler and Danielle L Jensen and Natasha Dean. They're all waving to you now. And for everybody watching, hopefully everything's coming in loud and clear. Feel free to wave and like and all the weird Facebook things that you do. If anybody has questions for any of the authors, we'll probably have time at the end for a couple questions. You can write them in the chat and to them until the end. And I wanted to say hi to my working partner, Ellen Karts. Hi, Ellen. And she's tweeting that we're going live, and she's also the person that's going to text me if everything breaks and I'm talking to a blank screen and I didn't realize it. So thanks, Ellen. So let us bring up our first, who did I say it was going to be? Oh yeah, that's right. Our first author. So Natasha Dean, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It sounds great.
Yes.
So I'll test all our tech stuff. So Guyanese Canadian author Natasha Dean writes for kids, teens, and adults. Her books have been CCBC starred picks, Moonbeam Award winners, and Junior Library Guild selections. Along with writing, she enjoys visiting schools and libraries, helping people to tell their stories. Her latest novel, In the Key of Niragani, is an American Library Association YA-LSA pick. Books for both Chapters Indigo and Barnes & Noble. When she's not writing, she spends an inordinate amount of time trying to convince her pets that she's the boss of the house. So Natasha,
and I never win.
How many pets?
I'm so 2 cats and 1 dog and 1 husband, who is my favorite pet.
He'll like to hear that. So tell us about In the Key. Tell us about In the Key of Niragani.
Nira was inspired by a few different things. So one of them, and this is for the writers out there, one of them was a line from another manuscript that I couldn't get out of my head. It didn't work for that particular book, but it definitely worked for Nira. The other part of it was kind of wanting to introduce people to what it was like to grow up as an immigrant kid and part of an immigrant family, I should say. And then the other part of it was, and I don't know if Danielle and Sue, this is what it's like for you too, where you have that image of a scene or you have that image of something that's happening in the book. And mine was this girl and her grandmother is living with the family, and kind of like every time something tragic happens in Nira's life and Nira's going to pieces, and grandma's there saying, have a cup of tea, you know, and when it's really bad, grandma's saying, okay, well, we'll just add milk and sugar, which, by the way, is a very Guyanese way to be. Like, as a child growing up, you always know how big your problems are based on how much milk and sugar your elders will put in your tea. So the bigger the problem, the more milk and sugar you get. And if it's not a big problem at all, you get very little, and you just have to plug through.
And so tell us about what you're gonna be reading from today.
So I'm going to be reading a clip from chapter 2, and what's happened is that Nira really wants to be a trumpet player, but like many children of immigrant families, You know, you come to the country and your parents say to you, you will go into a profession, like you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be an accountant. And she just desperately wants to break away from that particular destiny in her life. And trumpet playing is the thing that she wants to do. So she gets home and she's thinking, okay, how do I bring this over to my parents? Like, how do I ask my parents permission to do this very big thing as far as they're concerned? So she decides what she's going to do is she's going to see if they'll give her money to go shopping because she figures that's a small ask. And if they agree to that, that means they're going to be in a good mood and she can go for the really big ask, except it's mothers and it's daughters and it starts this huge fight. So the scene I'm going to read is Nira's in her room. They've had a fight and mom has come in. So it
Take it
starts
away.
off, thank you. It starts off with Nira thinking to herself, um, it's not in my genetic code to talk back to adults or question my parents, but this life makes me feel like I'm a medieval prisoner tied to four different horses: myself, school, this country, my family, and everything is pulling me in a different direction. I don't understand why there can't be a compromise, why everything I want has to be a losing battle. I'm sorry, I tell my mom, because that's genetic to every kid. We always have to be the ones who are sorry. She sighs and sits on my bed. I know this isn't easy. She reaches into her apron and pulls out a $20 bill. Here, I was young once. What's this? For your jeans. Put it with your allowance money. We can go this weekend to the mall. And the money suddenly feels hot as fire in my hand. I've won the battle, but the way my mother says it burns me, like the cost of my win has been a small part of her soul. Take it back, I tell her. I don't want it. Nira. The force of her turn makes the mattress bounce. You come home. You can't even say, hello, Mom. How are you, Grandma? Thank you for making dinner. Thank you for putting a roof over our head. No, you come in and you start yelling about how you need clothes and what terrible parents we are for bringing you here. Now you tell me you don't want the money? She storms for the door. Your eyes pass me, girl. Your eyes pass me. Guyanese for disrespect of the highest order. And the accusation stings. She's the one who's being disrespectful. I didn't want the money because it made me feel guilty. Now she's making it like I'm the bad person for wanting to fit in, like something's lacking in me. She slams the door closed and I'm not sorry anymore. I don't care if giving me the money cost a bit of her soul. She's got loads to spare. I pull the brush through my hair so hard it makes my scalp sting, then wrench my hair into a ponytail. I'm going to be ready and waiting in the car, and she'll see I'm a good kid, and then she'll feel bad. I don't deserve her yelling at me. I'm so locked in the internal battle, so lost in the imaginary fight I'm having with her, I almost run into Grandma when I swing open the door. As placid as a quiet stream, she moves past me to the bed. Come, sit. She glances at the floor and picks up a crumpled piece of purple paper. The jazz auditions. It must have fallen out of my pocket. She unfolds it, smooths the creases, and places it on my nightstand. I sit beside her. Thank you for the tea. She smiles and takes my hand, and I feel the squares of chocolate in her palm. For you, she says. No, I buy the chocolate for you. I pull away to inspect them. The packaging on the chocolate makes me pause. I bought you these months ago. Aren't you eating? I eat and share them as I choose. A stab of jealousy goes through me because I know who gets to share with her. My cousin, Farah. Grandma holds my hand again. Her fingers are a world of their own. Soft and strong, calloused and arthritic. I twine my fingers in hers and feel the breath between us. It's not easy to be the only one who doesn't fit in when everyone else has a place, she says. I think of my friend Emily and feel a pang of guilt. It's not just me who doesn't fit in, it's just I'm the most different, and I have this girl who keeps thinking I'm Hindi. She laughs. If she asks any hard questions, I'll answer for you. Here, she presses money into my hand. I look at it and I feel sick. $20. That's $100 for her. No, Grandma. I am not so old I don't remember what it is to want a cute dress, she says. Yeah, but Mom gave me 20, and if you give me 20, I trail off and wait for her to understand. What? She says. You can't do the math? It's 40. She sucks her teeth, a sure sign of her irritation. And they think Guyana is backwater. She shifts her weight, drives her hand into my thigh as she heaves herself up. What are they teaching you in this country? Obviously, not as much as you can teach me. She looks back and smiles over her shoulder, then worry wipes it from her mouth. Nira, you can want all the clothes and friends and romance you want, but those aren't the things that matter. If you can read and write, that's what matters. The rest of it is just garbage to distract you. I know, Grandma. Education, the theme song of our family, and it's on an infinite repeat on our playlist. Brush your hair and get in the car. There's a bag of roti by the door. Bring it. I did brush my hair. Do it again. You look like you've been electrocuted. That's the humidity. I follow her out the door, arguing with her and trying to explain moisture and hair and my need for hair products that Mom won't buy. I'm loving my grandma for getting me, even if she doesn't understand me. And that's Nira.
Thanks so much. That was great.
Thank you.
You're an old pro with this stuff.
Thank you.
This whole reading aloud stuff. I was going to say to everybody watching, everybody listening, but if you share the videos later with people that aren't on Facebook, on the Writers Guild of Alberta web for each category for the finalists. We have their bios and pictures up on the website, but we'll also be posting the videos from these live streams on the website too. And they'll be living there for a little while until the awards announcements go out. And so another place to go and have a look and to share. So that's for your info, Natasha, and also just for everybody watching. Another way that you can find the videos. Sue, are you there? I'm summoning. Perfect. And I want to make sure your mic is there too.
My mic is here.
Ready to go. I will introduce you now. Sue Ferrell Holler is a children's author, journalist, and a former Sun Media parenting humor columnist. Based on a true story, her YA novel, Cold White Sun, was a 2019 finalist for a Governor General's Literary Award. Additionally, her titles include the middle grade novel Lacey and the African Grandmothers, that's set on the Siksika First Nation, and 2 picture books that are set in rural Alberta. A journalist by profession, she also writes nonfiction and humor for adults. Her work as a feature newspaper columnist has appeared in local, regional, and national publications. She lives in Grand Prairie, and you said it's sunny in Grand Prairie right now?
It is sunny. It is warm. It's always beautiful here.
Feeling okay right now. We had some rain. We were talking about that earlier. So based on a true story. So tell us a little bit more about this, the story that this book is based on.
Yeah, so here's the cover. It's a very attractive sort of cover. It is the story of a child refugee from Ethiopia who is put into the hands of a human smuggler, and he's brought to Canada. And he shows up at the old Greyhound station in Calgary when it was still the Greyhound station. So it was a very intensive interview process and a huge learning curve for me. But it was also one of the most touching and important things of my career. The amount that I learned and the amount that he taught me is just, it's absolutely exponential. And I will be forever grateful for him for doing that and for trusting me to tell his story. So it begins in Ethiopia in 1991 in Addis Ababa. And I'm going to read you the beginning of chapter 1, just to get so you can have a sense of what it's like.
Perfect. Take it away.
Okay. The glow of the melting sun stained the clouds that hung low over the Entoto Mountains, turning all that was familiar into dark silhouette. The gates of the compound with their sharp points of wrought iron, the tall arms of the eucalyptus trees in the garden, even the chickens looked different in the evening, like demons that moved their heads back and forth on a string. The guards shouted to each other and rushed to pull the gates inward. Gaucher's navy blue Peugeot rolled in. He'd arrived safely, home before curfew, when the gates would be chained and the special police would prowl. Night was a dangerous time, full of the unknown. People disappeared after dark, but inside the gates, Ishi and I were safe to race the chickens. Go, Chicken Little, go, I yelled. My chicken was the best, and she was winning. I jumped up and down to encourage her, then crouched low to show her the juicy slugs I had collected for her prize. I would win this race, and my brother would lose. My belly would be full this night. I would get his portion, plus my own. Come, come, Ishi said, breaking the rules and going behind the chicken to flap frantically as the bird that could not fly. His chicken sat, fluffed her tail feathers, and nestled in the dirt. I win, I yelled. I fed Chicken Little the fat worms, one by one, and patted the soft feathers of her head. Ishi yelled too. No, I win, he screamed, moving his chicken and lifting a still warm egg. He held it in the air like the prize it was. Tonight, I will have this egg for my supper. He twirled in a big circle, holding up the chicken's gift as Gaucher drove his car into the garden. Our father did not wave or nod as he moved through our game. He did not toot his horn or notice the prized egg, laid at such an unusual time. He pulled to the side of the house and parked in his line of fancy cars and the ugly pickup he used to drive us to school. We looked his way when he cut the engine to see if he might be carrying a sack heavy with mangoes or papayas. But today, his hands were empty. Ishi and I disappeared like cockroaches into the far reaches of the house. To be seen by Gaucher was to invite a reprimand or a slap. We were too old for Gaucher now that we spent our days in school, too old to swarm his car in the hope of the first piece of fruit, too old to hold his hand as he wandered through the garden, bending to smell flowers and watering already wet plants. But we were not so old that we had forgotten the feel of his embrace as he laughed and held us close. Ishi and I hid in the top of the house, in the space with bare rafters, where you could see stars through the tin roof at night if they lined up just right. The stars had not come yet, and so we waited in this secret room where our cousins from the country would hide and lie quiet when the soldiers came to make them join the army. It was a good place to hide. The soldiers had never found this room. We rolled on the floor covered in a fine layer of silt and fought for the best place to see the sky, to be the first to see the evening star when it poked its way through the darkness. It will be a good night to watch stars, Ishi said. No moon. No moon yet, I said. The moon will rise as big and round as Itea's belly before another baby comes. And the clouds? Do you not see all the clouds? I lay close beside my brother. The two of us peered through the biggest hole, worn by rain and hail. It was the largest, but still, it was only the size of a coin, just big enough to glimpse the moon and stars if you moved just right, and if your brother did not get his big head in the way. Watch and wait, said Ishi. He stretched full length on his back and folded his arms beneath his head. Remember, I am the smartest. I am the boy with the egg. My stomach called at the mention of food. I hoped this night it was 3 burn injera with generous amounts of wat, and that Gaucher was not so hungry and that he did not have guests. We listened, as we always did, for the booming sound of Gaucher's voice, or for the scuttle of servants sent to seek us. Pulsing light filled the cloud, the whap, 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 whap of rotors. The vibration shook our bodies. The helicopter cruised low, the belly of it just visible through the tin roof. It felt as if an earthquake had shaken the world. It's on top of us! I jumped to my feet. It's going to land in the garden, she yelled. We dashed from the secret room, racing to be the first down the cement steps, to be the first to see. Rat-a-tat-tat! Machine guns, rapid fire. Rat-a-tat-tat! Rat-a-tat-tat! From the street, maybe? From the top of a compound wall? Whose house? Whose house this time? Banging oil drums in the street, rumbling motors, rat-a-tat-tat, loud voices, commands barked, screaming from the street, screaming in our house, our sister's high-pitched wails, Ataya calling the little ones to her. Ishi and I froze in the room where we slept, at the bottom of the stairs. He ran to the window, standing on his toes to peer into the dusk, and I followed, our heads as close as Siamese twins. There was no movement in the garden, just the sounds behind the thick wall that kept us safe. Rat-a-tat-tat! Can bullets go through walls? Ishi asked. I don't think so, I said. They're cement, thick cement. We moved to the middle of the room, just in case. Here, I tugged the edge of a mattress. We flopped it against the window, the tall side nearly to the ceiling. We dragged another and another until all the mattresses covered the glass. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat, the squeal of air released from a balloon. We fell flat on our stomachs like soldiers in a movie. Boom! A bomb exploded. Its echo traveled from cement wall to cement wall. Close. The sounds were close. What's happening? Asked Ishi. I don't know. Maybe someone was on the street past curfew, I said. Must be a lot of people, he said. We wriggled like snakes across the floor, staying low. The groaning, now a roar. Heavy machinery crawled on the street. Inside, the warmth of coffee beans roasting, the sound of girls whimpering. We edged the hallway. Another explosion, this one in the distance. I want to see, said Ishi. We slid beneath the layers of curtains, hoping to see what made this noise. We saw only a flock of startled birds through the window grills. The window vibrated. We dropped low, the machine guns again. Commands shouted. We inched our eyes above the sill, just enough so that we could see. The clouds shifted to reveal the moon's light. Soldiers with machine guns stood atop our wall. The guns were not at the house of a neighbor. The guns had come here. And that's it for now.
Thank you so much. That was great. We're going to move on to Danielle. Is Danielle there?
I think we've lost Jason. There he is.
Oh, no. There, oh, I'm on a weird delay. It's like I'm on the surface of the moon for some reason. So sorry for the delay on my end. I have no idea why that is. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. So I'm going to read your bio and introduce you. Danielle L Jensen is the USA Today bestselling author of the Malediction novels Stolen Songbird, Hidden Huntress, Warrior Witch, and The Broken Ones, Kingdom series, and the Dark Shores series. A born and raised Calgarian, she has degrees from both the University of Calgary and Mount Royal University. A full-time novelist, she lives in Calgary with her family and their 2 guinea pigs. So Danielle, tell us about this book, one of obviously many.
Yeah, well, many, but always more, right? This is The Dark Shores, and the sequel is actually out tomorrow, so it's exciting.
Oh, wow, congratulations.
Thank you. So Dark Shores is a fantasy with a heavy romance component. It's about a world that is divided by impassable seas, and both sides of the world are unaware of each other's existence. The only people who pass between the worlds is a seafaring culture called the Marin, of which the female protagonist of my novel, Tariana, is one of. But when circumstances arise that allow the the Selendor Empire, which is known for having conquered the entire East. They discover that the West exists. They they force her under extreme duress to assist in bringing some of their legions across in search of conquest. And the other main character, Marcus, is the commander of one of these legions, and he is being blackmailed by the evil senator who is in charge of all of this and wanting all of this, being blackmailed to for a variety of different fun reasons, but he's in charge of this mission that to cross the endless seas. So, in search of conquest, and that is where Dark Shores begins.
Excellent. And are you reading from the beginning, or what's the passage you're gonna read?
No, I'm not going to read from the beginning. So I'm going to read from one of my favorite scenes, sort of in the middle. But I thought I'd choose something with a little bit more action for you all. So they are now at sea. These are our fantastical type sea. They are doldrums, so it is completely windless, but there is a current. What has happened is the current has, and the doldrums have trapped a whole bunch of ships over all this time, and so there's ghost ships floating around them and their fleet, every which way they look, dead ships that show no life up until the moment that I start reading.
Take it away.
He was interrupted by a piercing shriek. "We've got a live one off the starboard side," one of the lookouts shouted. "We'll talk about this later," Marcus said, pointing a finger at Tariana before returning to the main deck to join Servius, who was standing at the rail, a spyglass in his hand. His skin, normally a deep brown, was blanched. "Shit," Servius muttered. "Shit. What is it?" "Look for yourself." Taking the glass, Marcus peered through, swearing under his breath at what he saw. The vessel wasn't weathered like most of the others, was probably sailable, or would be if the corpses of the crew weren't all hanging from the rigging. Another shriek filled the air, and Marcus jumped despite himself as the corpses began to dance, their limbs tied to lines like rotting marionette dolls. He panned the deck, searching for whoever was making that rutting, awful shrieking sound, his gut twisting as he caught sight of a naked man tugging on the lines with wild fervor. The sailor's skin was burned red and covered with lesions, and when he turned, the contents of Marcus's stomach threatened to rise. The man was covered with deep scratches, and his eyes were nothing more than bloody sockets. "The six protect us," Marcus heard one of the Marin crew members mutter as they drew closer, everyone on the deck taking a collective step back as the survivor leapt onto the railing and scuttled down the length like a deranged monkey, shrieking as he went. Marcus's pulse roared in his ears, heart galloping in his chest even as breath came in two fast pants. "Someone get me a crossbow," he ordered. The sailor must have heard his voice because he paused in his progress around the ghost ship, sightless eyes turning in their direction. "Dance," he screamed. "Dance, little puppets, dance, dance." Gibson appeared at his arm with a crossbow, and Marcus jerked it out of his grip. Loading the weapon, he aimed it at the sailor. "Long shot, wait until we're closer," Gibson muttered. No. Marcus let the bolt fly, swearing when it passed into the shrieking man's left. "Dance, dance, dance!" Sweat trickled down Marcus's back as he loaded another bolt, took a deep breath to steady himself, then let it loose. It punched into the sailor's chest, knocking him back and onto the deck. A mortal wound, but he kept up his chant, somehow managing to catch hold of one of the lines, sending the corpses into a frenzy of motion. "Dance, little puppets, dance!" "Set it on fire," Marcus ordered. They were nearly alongside the other vessel now, only 20 yards between them, and his eyes skipped over the gore on the deck. Strange messages painted in blood, and the damned sailor who wouldn't just shut up and die. "Burn it!" Rattled or not, his men were trained, and in moments, bolt tips wrapped with burning tar-soaked cloth were flying into the dry deck of the other ship, into the mast, into the sails, lighting them up like paper. The Quinsents passed by the other vessel by, but Marcus leaned over the rail to watch the other ships slowly turn into an inferno, sparing the rest of his fleet the sight. They had enough haunting their dreams, as did he.
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're frozen, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I don't know why it does that. Thanks so much. That was great. Short and sweet.
I like to
Everybody can
short.
come back. No, that's really good. That's really, really good. Everybody can come back if they're still there. There's everybody. I wanted to let everybody know that's watching on Thursday night at 6:30 is our next virtual reading. What I did for Thursday is I sent an email to everybody that's left and said, I'm going to be online at 6:30. So if you want to join me, here's the link. So I don't know who's going to be showing up. It'll be a lucky dip, as they say in England. I think that's what they call that. So we'll have a mixed bag of people on Thursday, but we some full categories. But it should be interesting just to see who shows up. I have some comments from some of the readers that were, or some of the listeners, I guess, that were listening as you were going. So Natasha, this is from Joy Lardner. She said, hello, Writers Guild. Natasha, I could relate to the Guyanese anecdotes. And then we have Shimelis Maressa. I hope I get that right. She said, she says, Gashi is the way we address elderly. I left Addis, and you easily drove me there. That was actually the turbulent 17 years of the Derg or Dirge regime, where I was born in its early period, and we had heard a lot about from our families. So that is our readings for today. I wanted to first of all congratulate the three of you for your achievement this year, the finalists for the R. Rossinet Children's Literature Award, and thank you very much for making the time to join us for these readings. I know the interesting thing about doing so many virtual readings and virtual things probably for the past 2 months about it is, normally with the Writers Guild we have 2 events to sell this, and we have one in Calgary and one in Edmonton, and whoever can make it out on that day or that evening makes it out. But when we do something like this, more people, do have the opportunity to get to hear you read from your works, and we have some video now to share and to spread around. So I think that's great. So thank you very much for making the time.
That was great. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I really, it's so lovely to hear authors reading their work. So thank you, Danielle and Sue. That was awesome.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
It is really great to hear you, and I'm definitely earlier because it's great to hear you read your work, and you're all definitely so experienced at it, and everything just kind of just sounds great. So we have another. Catherine Weeb said, loved hearing everyone's readings, really drew me in. And if you go back to the Facebook, I think it saves all the comments there, but just wanted to read those as they were here. But thank you all for taking the time. Thanks everybody for watching. And again, congratulations on your achievement this year. It's just great to have you here.
Thank
you
you
for hosting.
Yes, thank you for hosting.
Oh,
Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks. Take care.
Take care.
Good night, everyone.